glad you're here. Welcome back as we take a look at the stages of recovery from estrangement by your adult child. The first video that we did for this was an overview of the process, the different stages that people go through after they've been estranged if they're working their way toward recovery. The second video that we did was called the soundings stage, which is the first stage in the recovery process. In that stage, we looked at what are some of the typical conditions that we go through, actions, behaviors, what some of the pitfalls are that can happen to us at that time. And then we are moving on today to the second stage, which is called the exploration stage. And so the exploration stage comes after the sounding stage has gotten us to the point where we have figured out there's more going on here than just a tiff, more than just an angry silence. And so we move into this exploration stage like, wow, what's going on here? And most parents who have been estranged get to this stage and there is a lot that they don't know. They may not even know about the phrase parental estrangement. It could be really, really unfamiliar to them. If they know of nobody that's experienced it or has checked into it to find out there's a name for what they're experiencing, I'm sorry. And so they start to do internet searches and drill down to find out what in the world is this? This is so foreign. And you might find a couple of books, read through those, and start to become familiar with this phenomenon called parental estrangement. And you're going to learn as you go through this process that parental estrangement isn't rare. It occurs to all sorts of parents in all sorts of situations, which can be a comfort to know and distressing at the same time. And parents who are in the exploration stage can become focused mostly on discovering how to fix the relationship. And so that is where the focus begins to sharpen. The first conversations with people when you run into them will be, if you're open, if you're not in an isolation condition where you're not absolutely telling anybody, the conversations that you do have could be with trusted friends, professionals, doctors, clergy, therapists, and you're trying to find out all that you can about this from the places where you actually feel the safest. And so you're going to be searching out all sorts of resources. Now, if you become part of a support group for estranged parents, it can be really helpful in a couple of ways. There's affirmation in knowing, like, this is a thing, I'm not alone, and there are a lot of parents out there who are dealing with this and perhaps working toward reconciliation. So in some cases, you're going to hear about reconciliation strategies. And you might find some where people have said, this is what helped me or us get back in connection with our child. And that those can be very helpful. But there's not a lot of evidence out there that would tell us that the glue is going to hold long term. And that really can bring us to a place of estrangement reconciliation dance is what it has been called. I prefer to call it the estrangement reunification dance. And the reason for that is because reconciliation is a long process. It's a very healthy process for a parent and their adult child that have been estranged. And reunification is more exactly what it sounds like, coming back together, but not necessarily having done a lot of work around why the estrangement happened in the first place, coming to understand it, trying to work at the things that made it happen in the first place. So this disconnect, reconnect, disconnect cycle can happen many times before a final break actually occurs. So let's say a little bit about the estrangement reconciliation dance. The estrangement reconciliation dance tends to be something that is experienced in sequences where the estrangement gets longer and longer and longer each time, and perhaps more intense. It could start out with just emotional distance, where people aren't sharing anything about their life, nothing of any substance. It's all superficial information. And if the parent is asking personal questions, they might find that their adult child is diverting the conversation or keeping it very superficial. And it can last a short time, and then it feels normal again. And then you're surprised because then there's another disconnect. And the next time the disconnect is longer, perhaps deeper. Perhaps it's not just superficial conversation. Maybe it's no conversation. It may be no contact for a while, like, yep, mom, that's it. Good, yep, good to talk to you, bye. Short answers, if any. And progressively, these breaks get longer and longer. So the term low contact to no contact, trying to name, this spectrum, has been thrown around, and it is descriptive, and there's nothing wrong with that description. But I'm tending to go with a different description. The two ends of the pole, as I see them, are from functional estrangement to radical estrangement. And the reason that I use those words is because the shorter dances at the beginning tend to be functional. It might be we'll talk if we need you, if we need a babysitter, if we need to borrow money, but we're not going anywhere with that. So the emotional distance, the relational distance is starting to set in, but you're not really estranged yet. The radical estrangement is what has been called zero contact, and it's radical because it means everything is changed. It's radically different. It's no contact by phone, by email, by social media, nothing. Don't show up unannounced at our home. Don't send gifts. Don't send cards. Don't call. It's radical estrangement. And so this dance that happens can go back and forth. And quite frankly, for some people, it lasts a lifetime, where they have an adult child that keeps going in and out of these cycles. And some people choose to live with that. So that can be where a family gets really stuck. So I want to say a little bit now about the final break. The final break many times comes after a blowout. You might be able to, both parent and adult child, look back at the blowout and say, that was the moment. That's when this total cutoff began. And some researchers will call that the catalyst event. I'm not so inclined to call it the catalyst event. The catalyst, if you want to use that metaphor from your chemistry, is it's an addition to the whatever mixture you may have in a test tube or a beaker that starts a reaction, and it can be halted. It can be a minor reaction. It can be a major reaction that happens with this catalyst. With estrangement, I have found that that event is really more what I'm calling a proving event. And the reason I am calling it a proving event is because it's most times parents will tell me it felt really intentional, like they were actually poking at me and prodding me and actually trying to develop some sort of a conflict between us. And it is in conversations with families where this has happened, it actually tends to behave differently. What happens is that event tends to be the what I'm calling the proving event. And it's the event that the adult child uses to prove why this relationship needs to end. See how they talked to me. See how they didn't talk to me. See how angry they got. Listen to the words they used. And so that event is sometimes intentional and has a rationale for being used that way. And I'm not trying to say that the adult children plan this or they use it intentionally for that purpose. It's how things develop, and this is how it shows in many, many situations. So I'm calling it functional to radical estrangement, and that the event that can be at the radical end, I'm calling the proving event. So in these estrangements where that happen, that come and go, you'll also notice that there are increasingly tight boundaries. It starts out with just superficial conversation, which is a boundary. I'm not going into this other topic with you. And the next time it may be no conversation. I'm just going to drop the kids off and leave them, and I'll come back and pick them up, and I might say hello and goodbye, and that's it. And increasingly tight boundaries about interaction. So there might be, well, we'll interact with the family, even though we're not talking with you. So we'll only come to family events, but don't approach us and don't try to talk to us there. We're there for the family, not for you. And so each of these episodes in the estrangement dance can end up being tighter and tighter boundaries. And parents begin, you feel spurned and shunned and powerless. So the pain starts to set in more and more as this continuum becomes closer and closer to radical estrangement. So another piece that is really typical to this stage of exploration is resentment can set in, and that's an awful feeling for parents to imagine. I'm actually resenting my child, which is something that no one plans on and feels terrible. And so there's some feelings of guilt in this stage as you explore and you learn different things about this situation and start to recognize how you are feeling and how you are reacting to this. And also, another thing that parents do as they get into this stage, they'll notice that thinking so much about, oh, why did this happen? How could this happen? What would make them make this choice? Really searching for answers and for plausible motivation for this. And it isn't necessarily to blame the child. It's many times it's to figure out, what did I do wrong? How can I fix this? So that's another typical piece of this stage. And if you find yourself with those sorts of thoughts and questions and conversations, you can pretty much guess that you are in the exploration stage. And so this is a stage when people might begin to seek out other parents who are dealing with the same thing. But that would be really late in this stage. Right now, it's more about figuring out what in the world is going on and what can I learn about this whole process. And in that process, parents are going to be reading in different places or hearing from therapists such as myself that it's time to focus on yourself. And there are a lot of reasons for that. Health, mental health, physical health, emotional health, spiritual health may be deteriorating, and that's not going to help you if they continue to deteriorate. They're not going to help you recover. They're not going to help you feel better. And none of those things, if they deteriorate and you neglect the care of them, will help you when you move into recovery, which can eventually lead to a healthy reconciliation. And it's counterintuitive to reconciliation. You think, I take care of myself. How's that going to help with reconciliation? And as you learn more and more about the recovery process, you will see all of these different pieces come together to help you be a better parent through learning the things that you learn in recovery. So, whether reconciliation occurs or not, the exploration phase really builds an important foundation, something to more solid for you to live into, for harm reduction. It's a foundation for harm reduction, so we're not suffering as much. And it can also help to reduce ambiguity because we start to learn more and more, and different things make more sense to us. And so that is a comfort, and it can help us feel okay about the exploration and about the steps that we would be taking for our own self-care. So it's important for the estranged parents to be able to affirm and understand and believe that they have taken every reasonable step towards reconciliation. And that's part of this exploration stage, looking for all the possible things that we can do. And we've listened to therapists, and we've listened to clergy people, and we've listened to videos, and we've read books, and want to feel affirmed that we have tried everything we possibly can to make this work, and that the ball for reconciliation is in the court of our children. So this stage can really add to the pain and the confusion of estrangement because we get mixed messages. We're not really clear. Like, we're trying to figure out who's to blame, or how did this come to be? How can I fix it? Is it my responsibility to fix it? There's a lot of mixed messages that you're going to get. And not every resource is going to be helpful. The different authors, different bloggers, different vloggers, therapists, clergy, they're going to have their own bias on this phenomenon of family estrangement and how they believe it should happen. In my own personal point of view and experiences, many of these biases are going to come across as unhealthy and unproductive. You will be better equipped to vet those resources once you have finished the book Peak. But also, there's another book that's coming out called Relation Snip. This is March 2022, and we're hoping by the end of May that Relation Snip is on the shelves and available for parents. So that those resources can be helpful for you because they're focused and they all talk about recovery. That's what we're looking at, is recovery from this. So be careful about what you read. Not be careful about what you read. Be careful about what you subscribe to as far as this is how I want to do it, because you can actually do more harm than good in your approach if you haven't thought through the rationale for these different approaches. There's people who will tell you, just go to their door, knock on the door, tell them what you want them to do, tell them they're being bad children. Others will say, sit back and let them come to you. There's a lot of different approaches out there. And so vetting what's out there, what makes sense for you, and how you want to move forward to make the best possible scenario that you can for health and for the health of the relationship, should you get the opportunity to reconcile, is really what's the most important for you. So each stage has its own growth opportunities, opportunities to see where you have grown, and potential pitfalls. And so in the exploration stage, the growth opportunities are becoming familiar with what estrangement is. Learning is always good personal growth. It helps normalize the situation in some ways for you. It can help you come out of isolation. That would be a wonderful growth for you, because any of us who have been in isolation realize that holding all of the sadness and grief of any situation inside and not sharing it with people who understand and have been there can be really painful, and sharing it can be so, so helpful. Another growth opportunity is the ability to sit with ambiguity and not be reactive. Um, the ambiguity of, are we talking? Are we not talking? What did that statement mean on Facebook? Can really create a lot of anxiety and want us to just pick up that phone or dash off something on Facebook. And the growth opportunity for us, which will help immensely if we're fortunate to get into the reconciliation process, is the idea that we learn to hold on to those emotions even though they are really churning inside of us, and not allow the reaction to those emotions to potentially harm the relationship any further than it is. The signs of growth, of course, would include the ability to sit with that ambiguity and not be reactive. Pushing further into an understanding of estrangement beyond just maybe getting a definition and an understanding of what that actually means. Finding a peer support group would be one way, as well as finding a therapist to talk this out with and figure out what is it that I need to do to take care of myself so that I can recover, and how will those recovery things, processes, options help me if I should get the chance to reconcile. And the potential pitfalls in this is the temptation to use the techniques for reconnection that you're hearing and they're not helpful. The potential pitfall would be not vetting, not looking at the options that you have, just jumping at anything that comes your way without thinking it through, and it could throw another stumbling block into that relationship. So in this exploration stage, we begin to get really tired. The exhaustion of swinging between the moods of hope and despair is just exhausting. And we might feel not physically exhausted, but we might feel as if I don't want to read, I can't focus, I can't learn new things, because our brain is just so overwrought by swinging back and forth in these moods. So that is part of what we can experience in the exploration stage. So beyond that, the consequences of the stress, physical, mental, emotional, financial, spiritual, they can really start to build up and show in our temperament and even in our physical bodies. So these sorts of reactions inside of us, these depletions is really a good way to put it, can really push us to move into the next stage, which we're going to talk about in the next video, and that's the mitigation stage. So when we start to get to the end of the exploration stage and we noticing that we're just exhausted, we feel like we can't take this anymore. I've got to do something different so that I don't feel like this anymore. I just have to get back to life. That is when we start to look at the things that we will examine in the mitigation stage. Thanks for being with us today, and really appreciate if you like the video, please click the like icon, the little thumbs up. Share the video. Take the URL and send it on to somebody who you think might benefit from this. You can also help other people by subscribing to our channel and clicking again down below the bell icon so that you're notified whenever we upload a new video on another topic, and you can be able to share that topic if it applies to other people and you get to see it as soon as it comes out, because you get the notification. All of that helps other people as well as yourself to understand what's going on and perhaps start to take some steps towards recovery and alleviating your pain and your hurt. Thank you.